about earnings. RR Kabel is the first management of the show. The company reported a mixed set of third quarter earnings, pretty much in line with what some of the other peers have reported as well, where the growth was led by the non-cable business. And in cables and wires, of course, there was moderation in demand, and at the same time, there was a decline in prices of the underlying metal itself. Let's discuss this and more. We have Rajesh Jain, who's the CFO at RR Kabel, joining us. Thanks a lot, Mr. Jain, for joining in. I'm looking at your performance, comparing it to the other peers as well. Just wanted a couple of details. One, what is your prognosis for volume growth in the cables and wires business in this quarter and going forward? And secondly, where does your market share stand at right now? Because I see Polycab having done a little better than you in terms of reported growth, and Havells having done a little less than what you've done on a reported growth itself. Would that be a way to look at this performance and deduce that maybe you gained a little market share but lost some from Polycab as well?
So, good afternoon, first of all, and thanks for calling us. If we see this quarter performance and even at YTD levels, like we have grown around 12%, and in that also particularly in wire and cable, it is growth at YTD level is 10%, and in my FMEG business, it is around 25%. And when we talk about market share, see, this is not that much a very big change that it may have a huge impact in market share. It may be hardly maybe 10 or 20 bips here or there. So it is not directly measurable. But within wire and cable, of course, we have seen a very good growth in our cable division, where still we have like very good focus for future growth also.
Mr. Jain, good afternoon. Thank you for joining in. I wanted to talk to you about the business mix overall as well as on the segmental basis. Your exports were around about 27% this quarter. How has the export demand looked like this time around? What are you witnessing currently? And I ask this to you in particular, considering the volatility in commodity prices that you're witnessing. What are the on-ground trends that you're witnessing right now when it comes to demand, both on the export front and on the domestic front as well?
Yeah. So first of all, like we are the largest exporters of wire and cable from India, and it is almost contributing 27-28% in our overall revenue. First, if you see overall, like 88% of our revenue is coming from wire and cable, and 12-13% is coming from FMEG business. Within wire and cable also, like we have seen a very good demand from export also. Though in first half of this year, there were like some disturbance and we have seen some impact in our demand also. But going forward, it seems we have very good demand, even looking to the international scenario, growth or additional demand from Europe, USA, and all other countries. So it seems in future also we will see good growth in export, particularly in cable business. Same way, even in India also. Right now, we are like a wire-heavy company where most of our revenue, almost 70%, is coming from wire within wire and cable. So now slowly we are increasing our capacity in cable also, and cable particularly, it is going at a higher pace when we compare with wire.
All right. Can you give us a sense of two numbers? Just first one is that in the third quarter, your volume growth in the CNW business on the whole was slightly muted at around 2.5%. For the entire year, you had guided for about 20% growth in the volumes. Do you maintain that number? And secondly, for the annual, projections as well, the first 9 months, your revenues have been close to around 12% higher as against the same time last 9 months. What is your prognosis for the end of this year? Where do you think that revenue number would be?
Yeah, so this year, of course, we could not achieve what we had planned at the beginning of the year. But at least in Q4, it seems our volume growth will be in the range of 15%. And so since we had a lesser growth in the first 9 months, so at overall annually basis, our growth may be a little bit lower. But going forward, it seems again, since like international markets and even domestic, we are building our capacity in cable, where earlier we were short of supply. So now we see a good growth in the range of 15% for our wire and cable business.
Can you put a number to that as well, Mr. Jain? Since you mentioned growth will be lower, how much lower does that translate into your top line as well?
So top line right now we are 12%. So of course it will be in the range of 14 to 15% on an annualized basis.
Okay, 14 to 15% on top line growth, and 15% is the volume growth, which you've actually curtailed from earlier guidance of 20% itself. Let's talk about the margins then, because we've seen some margin improvement in your business as against the others, which actually showed some sort of margin decline as well. You were targeting double-digit margin in this business. By when do you reach there?
So earlier we had predicted that by FY27 we could achieve that double-digit margins. But it seems since this year we missed that track, so now we are planning that we'll get this double-digit margins by FY28.
And FY25 and FY26, what are your expected margins? Because earlier you had expected 100 to 125 basis points improvement in margins in this financial year.
So, like last time also we told that since we missed very heavily in our first half of this year, so this year it is not possible even to achieve last year margins rate. But going forward, again, we are on track and we have planned to have margin improvement of 100 to 120 bips on year basis from next year onwards.
Mr. Jain, two-part question on the FMEG business. You had first mentioned that you will break even on the FMEG business once you reach around about 1100 crores of top line. You are currently at around 667 for the first 9 months. Does that happen by the end of the year? Part one. And part two is you mentioned around 12 to 13% revenue share from the FMEG business. Does that move higher as we go into FY26?
Yeah, so since we are expecting that our FMEG business will grow by around 20 to 25%, and at the same time, since wire and cable is also increasing, so this share may from 12 to 13%, it may move to 15%, 16% by the end of next year or by FY27 also. But on profitability, of course, what we have planned by next quarter of FY26, first quarter of FY26, we may be green at EBITDA level. And it seems we are on track. As you can see, our revenue is growing at 25%. Even this year, we have seen margin improvement of 370 bips, which is one of the best in the industry. So we are on track as per our plan.
And EBITDA break-even happens in the first quarter of FY26. By the end of FY26, how does that number ramp up? Because this is a business, while it is revenue accretive, it is margin dilutive as well, even though the total addressable market is a lot higher in this one. Could you give us a sense of when does it, come up to the margins that you're doing in CNW business already, and when does it become margin accretive and perhaps EPS accretive as well?
So it will be too early to predict a normalized EBITDA percentage of 8 to 10%. But as per our plan, it seems by FY28 also, there we can achieve a top line of 2,000 to 2,005 crores and can achieve margins of 8 to 9% kind of EBITDA levels in FMEG business also.
Very quickly, Mr. Jain, any Capex plans that are lined up for the next year?
Yes, we have made one Capex plan of 1,200 crores, which will be spread over next 3 years. And this will be particularly focused on our cable growth and as well as some balancing in wire demand also, wire Capex also.
That typically yields how much revenue? What is the asset turnover on a business like yours?
For this phase of our expansion, we may achieve a top line of 4,000 crore on investment of 1,200 crores.
All right, Mr. Jain, thank you so much for sparing time and joining us. Wish you good luck for the rest of the year and for your expansion plans as well. The management of RR Kabel cutting its revenue growth guidance, but has earmarked a Capex plan for which it expects a top line of around 4,000 crore rupees. Time for a short break. Up next, we connect with Dheeraj Singh, who's the CEO at SIS, to discuss the quarter gone by and the road ahead. Stay tuned.